Commander Cockins and Captain Vody here yet again for another Trekyards mission briefing. Your Wednesday goodness. Every Wednesday you tune in and watch us talk about another ship of the Trek universe, or station, or shuttle. But we're doing a ship today. And what are we doing, Stuart?
This week we're taking a look at the living nightmare of the Borg, as well as the very first ship we've ever seen that's been designed for fluidic space. That is species 8472, their Bioship.
That is right, guys. This one can rip through a Borg cube like butter. Like seriously.
Yeah, baby.
This should be interesting.
Absolutely. So let's move on to our first picture and take a look.
So, this was a Voyager ship. It was one of the... They were in a new age of just CG, so there was no physical model, I believe, built for this. Was the introduction of Seven of Nine as well, I believe, was in the same episode. So what was your... Do you remember what you thought of the ship when you first saw it?
I thought it was interesting. It kind of reminded me of the Quantum Time ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that.
And I kind of thought Voyager was getting lazy with their ship designs. Kind of just, let's take that one and just add a few things or whatever.
Right.
But it's an interesting design. I rather like it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was pretty impressed with it just when I first saw it. So
yeah, I was very impressed by how they're presenting this new alien race. I mean, you've got to consider it was kind of a hell of a task, right? Let's create a fully CG alien with all, like that's for a TV budget and a new ship design, and it has to look not meaty, even though that's ironic because it's organic, but it has to be able to take out the Borg. And I kind of thought they had that bit of inspiration that I think made it work, because how do you make a ship that looks like it can defeat a Borg cube, and give this really interesting organic feel, and yet we'll see later on basically the entire front is one big laser cannon thing. That when you see that, it's like, wow, okay, the whole thing is probably one big gun, isn't it? I think one of the things that really strikes me about the ship is that you don't get a sense of scale, you don't get a sense of internal space, you don't get a sense of mechanical, you don't get a sense of crew. What do you get a sense of, honestly, apart from its big gun?
well, the thing too is also the color was a very good color choice. It looks very toxic, very venomous.
Very
it
rotting.
looks like a sickly color. Exactly. It's something that combined with the Borg green, I mean, makes for an interesting dynamic as far as the color palette goes. So it looks right away like it's a bad ship, like dangerous.
It looks like it's a ship that was... I wouldn't say it looks like a battleship, but it does look like a ship that's been designed to kill. Which is a weird thing to say, but again, once you see the fact that it's just one big cannon... I mean, we know it's relatively big compared to a Borg cube. I mean, it's not a small ship. It's not huge, but it's not small. What's your take on internal space and maybe crew, or... I mean, what do you picture in your head when you look at this design?
I've never really thought about the internal space of that ship, to be perfectly honest with you. Being from Fluidic Space, everything over there would be so much different than what we have here, so it's hard to wrap your mind around that. I don't think we ever saw the interior of one of these ships. One thing that I did like was the fact that it's got three sides, 3 points, 3 spires, whatever, and the species 8472, or the Undine, as they become known, is a tripedal species. 3 legs. Do they have 3 arms? I believe they do.
No, I think they actually have 2 arms, but you're right, the 3 legs. But yeah, no, I like that. The architecture fits the design. I think they're definitely... You get it's the same species. Interesting thought. Do you think this is a living creature? Almost another side race of that species? Or of that existent reality?
The thoughts crossed my mind that the ship is actually organic and alive. I don't know if it's a species on its own. I think it's more of like a nanotechnology, maybe. And that's maybe one of the reasons that the Borg have such a hard time assimilating it, because there's so many individual life forms that comprise this ship to make it a living thing that it might be difficult for them to assimilate that.
Well, impossible for what we see.
That's kind of the thought that I've always had.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just going back to the Undine for 1 second with their three legs. Somebody had commented on one of these ships a little while ago on Facebook saying that the species 8472 they couldn't take seriously because they're very un-Star Trek with the 3 appendages. And I brought up Lieutenant Eric's from Star Trek the Animated Series.
Yeah.
three arms, and it is Star Trek, and the fact that it is from Fluidic Space and not our reality per se, I think the alien vibe really works. So
Yeah,
I just want to throw that in.
yeah, I think the art design team did a great job with everything really we saw for those episodes. Back to the alive thing. I don't think it's alive. In terms of consciousness, I don't think it's a sentient separate entity. Although that would certainly be fascinating. And if you look at the whole premise of Scorpion, I believe was the name of the episode. The Borg went into fluidic space trying to assimilate them, and they came back looking for revenge. That's basically the plot line. But can you imagine if these ships were sentient, and so they're minding their own business, doing their own thing, having tea, fluidic tea,
Yep, absolutely.
and they, I guess, blow up a few ships because they can't assimilate them. And wouldn't you, as a sentient ship, if your generals have said yes, we're going to go kick their asses, then the raw power you see firing from these ships. I mean, can you imagine that's a sentient creature, churning out, forcing this extra power? That rage. I mean, that would kind of make sense visually. The amount of destruction it can produce as a rage from the internal of this living ship.
That's a great idea, actually. Good concept.
Bit of a stretch, I think. I think it's
Yeah.
far more likely that I probably would say it's more organic. So that again, my concept would be that Species 8472. They sit down in an organic chair. It sort of forms over them, or they're in the wall, and they psychically link with the ship, and they control it via organic means. There's no interface. I would say it's very much one-to-one. Its skin, its bone, and the Undine are controlling it via some level of psychic connection. I think it's organic tissue. I don't think there's probably any. I mean, that the front section we see the silver thing. I mean, I'm not even convinced that's metal. Honestly, could be a bone that's just a different color. Could be it's a bone that they've then put on some level of organic tissue, which is then crystallized and it's become silver. I don't necessarily think any of this is metal. I don't think that's necessarily their vibe. What do you think?
I never really got the metal vibe from it either. I always assumed it was some kind of organic material. It just has that feel to it.
Yeah, so the inside's probably gonna be nice, squishy and smoky, and kind of like the not Borg, the Wraith ships in Stargate. You've got it's all one big organic, and while there's some, well, it's not metal, I suppose, but other components that are less organic. It's very much a creature in sort of big scale. So it's I'd be very fascinated to see the inside, and even if you look at this, I mean, my again picturing is that this whole black section in the middle is one big cannon. So where the hell are the crew?
Yeah. Well, let's go to the next picture real quick, because this is it from the back, and then you see that black section goes right through the back, where it's supposedly some kind of engine, probably. So I don't know if the engine and the weapon are. It makes sense that they're linked into together, because even in our ships, the Federation ships, the phasers are channeled through the engines to more power, right?
So I'm kind of being inclined to think that people or the creatures, they're only in the orange bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they constructed the center part, and then the organic tissue formed over it. I don't know. That's kind of the feeling I get when I see this ship.
I like that, yeah. And then they put the spikes on to make it aerodynamic.
For fluidic space, absolutely. It would make sense.
Yeah, that's interesting idea. If you have the next picture, we've got a great sort of low-res version, but it's from Star Trek Armada 2. I can't tell if the black or the internal part goes in as far, but it's a slightly different design. It's interesting to see different interpretations, especially with the game this old, but
yeah.
Did you play the Species 8472 much in Armada 2?
No, not really. I'm more of a Federation guy. I tend to play Federation as much as I can.
But it's so many campaigns, Stuart. It's so many campaigns.
I know. I didn't really play them that much, no.
I did play them a bit. They were interesting. It was satisfying when you finally got their big ship, though, because it was like, yes. And then I do think you can do the big multiple cannon thing, and that was pretty satisfying.
That's later.
I know.
Let's move on to the next picture. So this is...
Ooh, whole different style of ship there, almost. Wow.
Look at their emblem for their species. It's basically their heads, their skull.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good emblem.
200 meters long.
200 meters. Okay, that's pretty good. That's
Yeah, utilizes biological technology, which seems to possess aspects of their own genetic structure.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Bioships are genetically engineered to be made for specific purposes. The battleship type of the ship is capable of moving between normal space and their own fluidic space realm
Ah.
through the use of quantum singularities. It seems that they have also do not require the standard power resources other civilizations use. They use transmutators that are capable of transforming any material into useful biomatter.
So just digestion, really.
Yeah, they used to gestate the new organisms, yeah.
I like that it's 200 meters. That is 25 meters smaller than the XO1.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a good size.
Yeah.
It's smaller than you think it is because the Borg's Cuba Blue is 3,000 meters by 3,000 meters. I believe, or is it 4,000? It's something along those lines. So that's smaller than you see it in the show, I think. Again, perspectives always change, but
and that head-on view is very, very intimidating and interesting. Just this huge cannon.
It really is. But I'm intrigued by this model because this is a fan model. I've got this space off the real one. In the real one, it's much more orangey, bony structure. But if you look at the front of this version, they've got such an organic skin feel, or even very dried bone. Aged horn. Bone. Yeah, or horn. It gives it a whole different feel. It's far more. I don't know, it's not more organic, but I would say that it has more human organic feels. Like it's more linkable to things that we associate with human organic material, whereas the original is much more alien organic. That's a weird thing to say, I know, but I think he's taken texture from real materials. I don't like this one as much, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, one of the things I see when I see this one too is it kind of reminds me of Voyager. From the
yes, I can see the
special edition. It makes you wonder if that came from Fluidic Space, if the probe somehow got sent to. It's an interesting tie-in.
Voyager.
Voyager, yes.
Right,
sorry.
I was
Voyager 6.
I was thinking Intrepid class. I'm like, this is nothing to do with Intrepid, right? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You mean because the internal structure has those multiple elements? That's interesting. I think. Maybe Voyager chatted with the Undine at some point. I mean, I'm not opposed to saying that, and they built some elements based on that. I mean, why not? But then,
it's just I just drew a similarity just now, and I thought I'd mention it.
Can you imagine the irony though if Species 8472 back in the annals of history chatted with, and they're obviously completely organic species, chatted with the completely mechanical species that fixed up Voyager 6. They're like, yeah, they were good friends, and then obviously Voyager 6 ends up creating the Borg, and they have this war with the Borg, and it's like, dudes, your children are screwing us over, guys. Control your kids. And they're like, we can't. They've taken over part of the galaxy. That'd be great. We should go back to that planet and speak to them and be like, dudes, get your kids under control.
Dudes. Speaking of the Borg versus the Undine, let's go to the next picture. It's got a Borg cube there, in battle with one.
Yeah, there's a hell of some CG where they blew up a Borg cube.
Now, is this just a painting, do you think? It looks like...
No, this is a still from the show. This is a still from the show.
Oh, is it, really?
Yeah. No, they put some time into this. Again, they did a lot of fun things with this ship. But if we go straight to the next picture, we can see back to the original model and how organic. And I didn't really notice in the first couple, but how many lit up parts there are. It does... I like that a lot. It gives it a much more energized feel, which was the intention, but I think that works a lot better. I do like how when you look at this picture specifically, the bottom spine, if you call it the bottom spine wing section, looks longer and asymmetrical. I do believe they are symmetrical, but when you sort of look at them individually, you think, oh, what if they are asymmetrical? Like, I always got the sense one was smaller than the others, but I think they are symmetrical. But yeah,
I never really thought about that. I always thought they were just the same. Anyway, so let's go to the next picture, and this is 3 of them. And this is done by Kenneth Zaborny. Good job. Again, it looks like he gave it an eye.
Yeah.
Back of there, and it's like almost like a beak, like a octopus beak at the front.
Yeah, it also feels more like obviously limited by technology and all that jazz, but it feels like the front 3 sections are old American Indian shields painted It's that sort of color palette. It's less organic, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice reproduction. The next version is another fan Orthos. I think it's the same model actually. It looks.
No, this one's more more similar to the actual one they used in the show, I think. Commissioned unknown. Crew unknown, possibly one individual.
Possibly.
Interesting. Armament, one high-powered energy weapon of unknown type. Bio-armored single hull.
Although we never saw the Species 8472, the Undine, use teleportation ability. That was never a thing we saw. I believe the only time we saw them in a Borg ship was when they actually crashed into the Borg ship. So, linking to my previous theory, I think if it is a single individual, then the size of the ship is direct relation to how much power the weapon needs. It's not for practicality of space internally. So if the ship is just an extension of the person or the alien, then each ship is just a single warrior. Which, I mean, why need a crew if you can control it via your mind? We see in Voyager, Alice, the shuttle, with Bio linking, and again with Janeway in Endgame. If you can control a ship through your mind, the reaction speeds and the abilities to think on the fly, that gives you certain advantages that normally a crew needs to have, to be quick enough to do commands. So I can say this as being just an extension of one of the individual creatures.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a symbiotic relationship. They need each other to survive. Who knows?
Yeah.
Next shot is from the show, and we see how many of them there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in total to make one giant Death Star killing planet killing beam. I thought this was such a cool thing when I saw this the first time. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's how do you up the ante, but makes sense completely. Like, I buy this, no hesitation. Although, is the ship in the middle a different class, or is it the same? I think it's the same, but
I was wondering that myself. I think it's probably the same. That's kind of the feel I get, but
yeah. But
if you take it back to like individual warriors, this is almost like a general in the middle, and everybody's supplying him with a little bit of power that they can, but he's
a little bit, yeah.
Well, a little bit makes a lot after get a few of them doing it, right? So
yeah, this was certainly. I mean, both those episodes were impressive, and I think they really did creatures that can destroy the Borg justice. I think they did them a really good job doing the exact opposite. Whenever we see a Borg ship in combat, because the Borg don't destroy as much as they assimilate. That's why destroy what you can create, part of you. So whenever we see them actually in a fight, they either spin and they fire torpedoes, or they're just a single tubes, and they're they've single small shots, but they just happen to be very powerful. Whereas you look at the exact opposite to this, and here you have these combination of big beams. It feels like it's the organic coming together. Although that in essence is also what the Borg are doing. They're a hive mind that is stronger by becoming a whole. So you can always say they're becoming mini Borgified to destroy the Borg. But that's too metaphorical. It's just they just want to destroy Borg, so they just do. But
is that part of their nature to have like a hive mind like the Borg? That's what I kind of think is going on. Because if they're telepathically linked with their ships, who's to say they can't communicate that?
I think hive mind is go a bit far, but I think it's linked. Like I think they all have individual consciousness. They're just linking the brain power rather than one person taking over as a hive mind. Yeah, that would be very much Borg. But yeah. Interesting, very cool to see, and the CGI guys did a great job for those episodes, so well done, guys, well done, Rob's team. And the last picture is the first picture, an Eagle Moss shot of the original model. Love the little details, love the little, bumps inside the weapon bit, so the sacks of goo, I don't know, really interesting. I look forward to doing the full episode and actually be able to dissect this model and see the scale of some of this stuff, because we can compare it to how big a phaser strip is on the D, and then be like, wow, this is even bigger, or how many shuttles the size of, I don't know, scale stuff, stuff we can work out. How much raw power are they getting out of this thing? It was very impressive in the show, and I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, any final thoughts on the design?
Great addition to the Star Trek universe. The fact that it's from Fluidic Space amazes me. I want to see more of Fluidic Space, but a great departure from the regular ships we see on Star Trek, and I'm very happy with it. Happy with it. So.
And it's that fun simplicity, because it's a very, very simple design. It is very, very simple, but it's in the little details, a little organic. Like they had a shape, and they detailed it, thinking about what might skin be, what might hull be, and that's where I think the subtlety. That's where the little that works. Like I say, I look forward to the full episode of the ship. And I'm glad we didn't see it that much more, because it was fun to see it where we did, and I think it would have been overused if they just appeared every other episode. You know, oh, there's another Bioship. Could have destroyed Voyager. Oh, this one could have destroyed Voyager too. You know, I kind of liked that it was minimally used, but just enough to show, wow, we don't ever want to see this again, otherwise if we do, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And that is it for another Trekyards mission briefing. This time, going a bit further into the fluidic side of Trek universe. We've been JJ, we've been Mirror, now we've been Fluidic.
It's my Fluidic Space dance. Just chill.
Fantastic. And if you guys want to help support the show, you can do a one-time donation via our PayPal by finding us at trekyards.com, and that will help out the show. Or if you want to be a regular supporter, which we love you guys if you are, you can go to our Patreon and support us for a monthly donation. $1, $5, $10, $1,000. Hey, up to you guys. We love you any which way. And that'll help to make the show and help it coming to you. I help it keep coming to you every single week, because we want to keep the show coming to you, but we need your help. So until then, until the next episode of Trekyards, this is Commander Kongs.
And Captain Foley.
We will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.